Hello, this is Dr. Rod. Just wanted to give you some insight to dads that are raising uh, children, that are raising daughters and sons, particularly important for raising a daughter. Dad, your job is at about 6 years of age, 5, 6, the child turns towards you as the primary imprinter of their life. Mother's been primary from the womb to about 5, 6, 7 years of age, and you become primary. And the number one thing you want to happen, that must happen, Dad, is you have to capture that child's heart. And so what that means is you've got to be involved to know that child's heart better than they do themselves. The goal is that before they're 10, before they're 12, 11, 12, and they go through the sexual chaos of their awakening, that's not bad. It's just chaotic. And what they need is they need somebody very stable in their life. And what helps unbelievably, Dad, is if you know that child's heart better than they know themselves, and they've come to that cognitive conclusion that here's my dad's heart, here's the things that he wants for me, and they're good things, they're things that are beyond him. It's not because he's an American, it's not because he's from this famous tribe that has these characters. It's because he knows truth, and because of God, the big God. And he's humbled. I've seen him humbled by truth. I've seen him humbled by the hand of God. And therefore, what happens is a daughter takes their heart out of their chest, and they literally handle it to their dad, and they say, I trust you more than I trust myself. And that is very important when they go into the peer development stage. They go out of the mom and dad stage. Dad goes to about 11, 12. Then they go into a coaching stage, a teacher stage, aunts and uncles and mentors for just a little bit. Especially we call it the coaching stage. Then they quickly, if they're not guided very carefully by the coaches, they go into a peer stage. And that's where we see these gangs are so popular. They've not been raised by fathers. Or they've rejected the father. They still, most of them love their mother. I've worked with young men in these gangs, young women, and they love their mother. They just don't have a father present, almost to a person. And so what they're looking for is an identity. And so they haven't had the coaches. You see how many young men say, listen, if it wasn't for this coach, I wouldn't have made it. Didn't have a dad, but man, I had this coach and he filled that gap. Well, we go into this peer development stage, and Dad, your job is that your daughter, your son, trust you with their heart, not their peers. And it's going to be hard because their peers are going to talk their language. And so what's got to happen is you have to shut up and you have to tune in to that child. You have to tune in. For a daughter, for a son, you've got to chase them. You've got to spend time with them. You've got to play with them. Play baseball. Man, Tori wanted me to play dolls one time. So I'm out lying on a hammock, and she said, Dad, can I bring my dolls to you? No. That's what my male brain thinks. I ain't playing dolls. Now I'll play trucks with you. I'll play tanks, but dolls? And so she brought her dolls, and she got bored really quick, and I realized I was losing her, and I said, hey, can I tell you a story? Barbie came into my room last night, and she told me things. She told me about, and so I made up this crazy adventure that Barbie went on that at night going through our house, and Tori had put the car in a certain place, and she said, can you have Tori make the car out so I can drive it around the room when she's asleep? And Tori was just fascinated, literally sitting on top of me, looking at me, just fascinated, holding her Barbie and looking at Barbie, looking at me. Now, what that does is that's a connection to where she's at. Later on, it was listening to her music. Later on, it was meeting her friends. It was also involved having a great place for her friends to come over, for Andrew's friends, for Luke's friends to come over and have a great time at our house. So you chase. Number 2 is you cherish. This is, Dad, where you got to be quiet. You got to hear the whispers of their heart. And sometimes it's involved, you've hurt them, and you've got to be able to own it. Tori one time said, I don't like how you talk to Mom. And I said, I'm sorry. And I changed. They bring up, Andrew asked me one time, Dad, what's the dumbest thing you've ever done? I said, why are we talking about the dumbest? Let's talk about the best thing I've ever done. And he wanted me to be open, honest, and vulnerable with him. He wants, so that when he did stupid a few months later, then I said, I have a ground to share with him. So chase your child, listen and cherish the whispers of the heart. So chase, cherish, and then always nourish them, always looking for a way to nourish them, to prepare them. Your job is to prepare them to walk in the forest where it's cold, dark, and dangerous. And that means you've got to be warm, safe, and happy. It means your issues have to be taken care of. Andrew, when he graduated from high school, I said, hey, how did I do as a dad? And he said, Dad, a lot of times you brought your stuff home. A lot of times you weren't even there. And that hurt. That hurt because I knew that you weren't present. And oh my goodness, that creates a space, and the devil plays in that space ground. The last is prepare and present. I'm doing everything in your life, child, for the rest of your life to prepare you to stand before God Almighty, not before me. So I'm not making that. I'm not the rules. And as I get older, I made mistakes. I made mistakes right in front of their eyes, and they would call me out on it. They called me out on stuff. They said, Dad, it sounds like hate when you talk like that. And so that's really good, and for me to continue to grow. Just wanted to give you this insight. Remember, Dad, your responsibility, pray, is that you would so chase your child's heart, so cherish, so nourish them, so prepare them that they trust you. They take their heart out, hand it to you, and say, Dad, I trust you more with my heart than I trust myself. That's going to be so important when the sexual chaos begins to happen. When that guy looks good, smells good, and she says, no, I can't do that because that's my dad's heart. He's got my heart. And the son says, no, I'm not going to do that. I prepared Andrew for, watch out for the day somebody hands you a funny looking cigarette. And I said, you'll be in a car. And he came back later on. He said, Dad, I wasn't in a car. I was on some bleachers. Okay. But I got him there before he got there. All right. Love you all. Enjoy.